Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast or media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, the Shark, Jordan, and Stryker. Today is our 96th episode, and we're discussing the 2015 Adventures of Puss in Boots episode, Dragon. So, let's get things started.
First and foremost, as of this year, it is no longer on Netflix, or rather, it's been off Netflix for a little bit of a while, sadly. Second, who is your favorite fearless hero? Who is your favorite fearless hero? I had to make that reference.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, of course, as everyone knows, Dreamworks is well known for their animated movies, but like Disney before them, they also made spin-off series of several of their most successful movies. Probably the first and best known spin-off is the Penguins of Madagascar show, which was a really, really fun one. And like I say, from there they did other ones. They did, of course, Kung Fu Panda's Legends of Awesomeness. They did Monsters vs. Aliens TV show, which is not as good.
Huh.
And
It was
go ahead, sir.
Epic Tales of Captain Underpants, which is a really funny show. But
Yep, kind of falls in the same humor in that.
Yeah, they also did a bunch of Netflix shows. I'm talking Voltron, She-Ra, freaking the Troll Hunter series, the works.
Yep, and of course we'd be remiss if we do not talk about the various How to Train Your Dragon spin-off shows, which we will be discussing in the future, so don't worry about that. But an interesting touch about a lot of the spin-off series is that some of them were like non-canonical to their respective franchises, like the Penguins of Madagascar one. But this one actually is, because this show is said to take place like almost directly before the events of Shrek 2, which is very interesting when you watch it in that light. Oh, go ahead, Math.
I always wondered how Penguins of Madagascar got so popular, considering you didn't see anything.
Yeah. Also, they would later make All Hail King Julian, which will be interesting when we cover it later. But yeah.
Ooh, didn't know we'd be covering, but okay, that could be a lot of fun. But yeah, like I say, Puss in Boots, of course, got one with this show, The Adventures of Puss in Boots, which, while not being as good as Last Wish, I mean, what is, let's be real, there still has a lot of really fun moments, and I enjoyed the show a lot more than I give it credit for. You know, I really was surprised by this and the quality. Now, there are some little bit of animation stuff and voice acting that we'll get to, some problems with it, but yeah, for the most part, this is a pretty good spin-off show based on a movie. Let's just say, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, indeed. Could be a lot worse.
Yep. But the episode itself begins with a theme song, which has a really fun art shift with like kind of a picture book-esque style, which they actually do a lot on the show. Not in this episode, sadly, but it's a really nice touch when they do it. And it actually reminded me a little bit of the show Cutlass, the animation, how they did it. And it has a great Spanish guitar section, which really sounds good. And of course, we get to the actual episode itself, and we start off with Puss is his voice actor, who is not Antonio Banderas, because why would it be? Instead, they got Eric Bauza to do the voice, and of course, he's a very well-known voice actor. He's basically the voice of all the Looney Tunes now. He does, a lot of things. You probably heard him at least in like 50 things in your lifetime. But one thing to note here, his performance is a little off to me. I don't know if it was to the rest of you, but to me, it was just a little bit off-center. Like, it was close, but it was missing something.
Yeah, the term here is close but no cigar, but I feel he pulled it off relatively well enough. I mean, it's not going to be Antonio Banderas, let's be honest, but it's not too bad.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, the man has made a career effectively being a voice impersonator more than a voice actor, because he's trying to sound like a lot of characters. So here he's trying to sound like Antonio Banderas' Puss, and that's why it sounds a little bit off. It's the uncanny valley of voice acting, so to speak.
Exactly. But basically, Puss mentions that being a hero means that he has to help out everybody, no matter how small their problems are. He slides down a roof, and right away we get to a joke that got a gigantic laugh out of me. He does like the sign of the cross, and he says, protect me, Felina. Then he pulls out like a tiny altarpiece with like a female cat saint on it. It was like, I was like floored when I saw it. I was like, wow, you really went there.
Indeed, yeah, like that was definitely something.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it turns out that the problem he has is to stop a mosquito annoying a man who is trying to read. And the guy's reaction here is pretty hilarious. And what's interesting too about this is, since this is the same continuity as Shrek and Puss in Boots and that, they have humans mixed with like anthro animals mixed with various monsters and that. And to the most part, they all look really good.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. The animals more so than the people, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as bad as like the original Shrek, how the humans look, because a lot of the humans in the first Shrek, if you go back and watch it, they look a little off in a way. They're like, they did not perfect human animation yet with like the way they move or talk of that. But here it looks good, but there's still something about it that just doesn't click. I get where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Matt?
Ironically, the only one that kind of looks a little bit off in the series is Puss himself, because they're trying to do that highly detailed Puss in Boots fur that the movies had, and this is 2015 with the TV budget, so they kind of quite can't do it.
Yeah, I feel that.
I was gonna comment on that, like the animation, and it's not bad, honestly, but the fur textures is where something that really feels off. Like not just in Puss in Boots, but any anthro animal character, their fur just looks off. I can't put my finger quite, but yeah, there's something about it.
Yeah, the designs here are hit or miss. They either work or they don't. But I will say, when it does work, it works great. When it doesn't is when things get a little interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But to continue with the actual episode itself, what happens next is that Puss slays the mosquito, but more arrives to the man's annoyance. We then cut to a bar where Pajuna, who is the tavern owner and bartender, is trying to keep up with orders to no avail. And it's here where we get to the fun part, because Pajuna is like an anthropomorphic Highland cow with a Scottish accent, and her design is definitely a fun one.
Okay. Okay. Quick guessing game here, or quick litmus test. How much you want to bet this character here is basically the one that gets all the freaking those kinds of jokes? The kind that involve udders and whatnot.
Yeah, there is a lot, and including one in this episode that we will get to.
Yes.
Yep, and it definitely good, Matt.
What you're saying is they milked this character for all she's worth.
Yes.
Perfect. But yeah, what happens is she's basically having trouble filling orders in that, and the drink she serves in her tavern is her own milk, which also has very interesting implications, let us say.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. For a series like this that has gotten away with much, much worse, she 100% gets them straight from her tap. Not the tap, her tap.
Yep.
Which we'll get to that later.
And yeah, we will definitely get to more of her in this episode in a little bit, but for now, Puss shows up and he tries to help redistribute the mugs by dancing, accidentally smacking one of the patrons in the head with it while doing that. And we then cut to the various orphans who are trying to pull out vegetables but find it difficult. Obviously, there is only one person behind such a nefarious deed. It's Emperor Zurg with his transdipulator. If only he showed up. He would be perfect for Shrek. Let's be real. He would fit right in with that universe.
Oh, absolutely.
Would be better there than in Lightyear. Let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Science fiction is still fiction.
That too. But what happens is Puss arrives and he uses his sword to help pull them up, with him slicing an eggplant and eating it on his sword. I guess this means he inspired that one WarioWare microgame where you slice the vegetables.
That, and he probably killed the great eggplant great grandfather or something. I don't know.
That too. But he then literally bumps into Señora Zapata, who is the head of the orphanage, and her design is one that is definitely very shall we say, interesting because she has an extremely bottom-heavy design to the extent that it almost seems intentional. And when Puss bumps into her, her rear end actually like visibly wobbles for a couple of seconds. I mean, you could tell they had fun designing her. Okay, let's see. Shark, what do you want to say?
Yeah, basically, if Gloria from Madagascar was human and in the Shrek universe.
And Latina.
That too.
Math.
And yep, Matt.
Between this and the cowgirl, I'm starting to think the animators had a type.
Yeah.
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 If only the dragon was like that, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, what happens next is that, basically is that she is annoyed at Puss basically acting so obnoxious and throws him a coin, telling him to go and buy some lard at the local market. She taunts Puss by saying if it's too much for a hero such as himself, but Puss rebuffs her and rides off on his horse. And it's a fun little reference here that you can tell that the people behind the show definitely did a lot of research with stuff. Puss's horse is called Babieca, which is actually the name of El Cid's horse.
Nice.
You know, El Cid Campeador, the famous Spanish legend, fought the Moors and that, had the movie with Charlton Heston. Haven't seen it, see, it's a pretty good movie. But anyway, Puss arrives at the market, the pages of which all are bandits, and as such they wear black ski masks with eye holes cut in them. I guess this means that Thelonious has some brothers that live in San Lorenzo.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Only he showed up, but Puss basically... Oh, go ahead, Matt.
All of those villagers looking the exact same, having the exact same model. This is actually a common tactic that DreamWorks would use for their CG shows. They did the same in all of their Dragon series. It was the same henchman model that they used for 20 different background characters. That kind of idea.
Well,
Oh,
then
wow.
in that case, it looks like they haven't completely left Disney after all.
Yeah, that is also true. But yeah, basically what happens when Puss arrives at the market, he demands their largest container of lard, rejecting several smaller containers until he gets one that is so huge he has to literally tie it with rope and drag it behind him. Puss.
Yeah.
Yep. He then hears two of the bandits talk about a dragon that is burning down various villages, and he begins to offer his help before being cut off by El Moco, who is a rival bandit who claims that he will slay the dragon and steal its treasure. And it's here we get something that is completely awesome because he is voiced by none other than Danny Trejo.
Machete itself.
What an absolute legend this guy is. The fact that they got him for this show, that it automatically makes the show from a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10 to like a 10 out of 10 instantly. Like, even if the dragon was like the most disappointing dragon ever, the fact that he was in this show automatically elevates it up a couple of points. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Two things right quick. First, I'm a very simple man and live by a very simple philosophy. Have Danny Trejo will watch.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Same.
And second, what's really cool about this character is he actually kind of looks like Trejo too.
Yeah, it kind of does, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, now you mention it, I can see the resemblance between the two.
Yep. Like I say, I wonder if they like based it off of him, and then when they saw that it looked like him, they're like, well, he looks like the actor. Let's just hire him. And we're glad that he did because, again, even in like a small role like this, he puts on such a really good performance in that. But Puss decides to also slay the dragon, but not for treasure, but for justice. There's a pretty good joke with him asking the bandits to put his lard on ice as he rides off.
Yeah. Also, justice. Daredevil reference.
Nice. But he rides off to the dragon's cave, telling Babieca if he does not survive to go tell the others about his glorious deeds and to embellish it. Sadly, even though this episode is called Dragon from Shrek is not in this. Missed
Aw.
opportunity, but no, well,
Yep.
can't have everything.
It's a prequel.
Yep. He then enters the cave, which is filled with a... Oh, go ahead, Shark.
With that said, Puss's white horse looks very similar to Donkey when he drank the True Love potion, actually.
It kind of does, yeah.
Oh, that was either maybe an intentional reference, or failing that, I could see it be some kind of basically maybe a reused model in that they had the horse model. And they were like, well, let's just model the face to be a more realistic horse, and we got it, which pretty clever if it is. So
Yeah,
what happened?
definitely.
Yep. So what happens is Puss enters the cave, which is filled with treasure, before leaping up at a small sleeping dragon. And it's interesting. This dragon's design reminds me a lot more of something from like How to Train Your Dragon than it does Shrek.
Yeah.
Especially with like the craggly mouth and the multiple horns and that. It doesn't have like an overly not a cartoonish, but a more stylized version, like for example would be in Shrek. This is more of a realistic dragon, which is very interesting considering it's supposed to be the same universe. Oh, go ahead, Math.
Both series were going on at the same time, so I'm pretty sure the Puss in Boots team just went over to the How to Train Your Dragon team and were like, "Hey, can we borrow some of your assets?"
Yeah, probably.
I definitely can see that. But what happens is Puss is dumbfounded that this, tiny sleeping dragon is the dragon, as it's busy just sleeping and doing everything else. He scratches the dragon's stomach as it coos and says about how he's just a big softy. And one thing to point out right now, just to clarify, this is not the dragoness we're going to talk about, just to get that out of the way right now.
Yep, it's a boy.
Yep. But there is a dragoness, and we'll talk more about her in a bit because she'll be interesting. Let's do it that way. But for now, basically El Moco shows up and threatens to slay the dragon as it whines in fear. Puss decides to defend the dragon against the bandit leader as the two engage in wordplay before dueling with each other. And I really do like, the fight choreography here is a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun moments, like how Puss is knocked towards the dragon and basically licks him and smiles, and how El Moco is basically defeated with Puss throwing like various treasures at his body, causing the man to stumble backwards and fall into an open chest. And then Puss uses El Moco's tiny dagger sword to just lock it up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Angron.
It's also very interesting to learn that this heroic thing is both in character even for modern Puss, especially so since Puss does do that as well, even if it's a little more anti-hero-ish. But also it's interesting seeing this Puss go from this to Shrek 2 and onwards, and technically the Puss in Boots movie too, which
Definitely.
pretty interesting jump, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. It definitely is. Like I say, it's very unique in that way to see how much his character evolves from like this to how he would become by the time of like a Shrek Forever After. So, what happens is basically Puss leaves the cave, then greets Babieca, then tells someone that he'll have someone else arrive at the cave to fetch El Moco. The dragon exits the cave as Puss basically tries to say goodbye to the creature, but the dragon just keeps following Puss, trying to go home with him. Sadly, we do not get him going back to San Lorenzo and Señora Zapata saying, "How can you possibly have fun with a dragon?" If only it was jellyfish jam.
Oh gosh, that's pretty crazy. I could just imagine freaking dragon party, also shark.
Puss is the only person I know he can have fun with a dragon for 12 hours.
Perfect, yep. But I do like the moment where the dragon tries to use the like cute eyes on him, but Puss basically calls him an amateur and does, of course, his own famous set.
It does not work though.
Yep, it does not for now anyway. But the dragon whines as Puss relents and decides to take him back. We cut to the orphanage where all the children are hungry and basically demanding their lard. Puss arrives just in time with the gigantic container and a pretty funny callback as the dragon follows him into town. Señora Zapata is horrified by the sight of the dragon, and Puss says that the dragon just followed him home. I love in a hilarious moment, both Puss and the dragon do like the cute eyes, and again, that actually got a good laugh out of me. This was perfectly timed too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. We then cut to Puss telling all the others about how he defeated El Moco, but Señora Zapata just wants to know about why the dragon is in town. Puss says that it's a saintly creature and how he should help it before cooing over it. And the orphans all asked if they could name him, with the pig orphan Toby saying that the dragon should be called Dragon Toby, rather. I do like how Puss basically says, "Oh, that is a horrible name. We cannot name it Dragon Toby. We shall call him..." And he just stops and he pauses for a couple seconds. "God, Dragon Toby it is."
Yeah,
again, it's just perfectly...
Yeah.
Now we can stop thinking about Dragon Toby.
Yeah.
Dragon Toby it
Like,
is.
he put the thought in the head and then he's just like, God damn it.
Yep.
Yeah. But like I said, basically what happens, of course, is Señora Zapata tries telling him that wild dragons are dangerous, but Puss says she says that about everything, with Cheeval, Goblin agrees with her, then antagonizes Pig Toy before storming off.
Yep.
We then get to see Artifice, the old wizard, trying to basically drive away the dragon, but Puss says that he will be there to protect Dragon Toby and nurse him back to health. Seeing that the dragon needs milk, he arrives at Pajuna's bar as she's busy fulfilling various orders. And she says, of course, that she's very busy and she has no time for him, but Puss then slyly asks if he could have a favor of her. And then we cut to probably the funniest moment of the episode. The episode that literally caught me so off guard. I actually had to rewind it and rewatch it because it was like they actually did that. We cut to her panting heavily as Puss basically rolls away an entire barrel of milk as she's basically barely able to stand before collapsing to the floor out of exhaustion, which, very interesting, you know?
Like, seriously, this is the same universe where they censored cursing, have a freaking O.J. Simpson reference, and a bunch of sexual innuendos, Lord Farquaad especially. So, having Puss be hot triggered on milking a cow's literal breasts, honestly, is both in character and one of the most risky things that has ever been done in the Shrek universe and by DreamWorks in general. Like, no joke.
Oh, definitely. Shark, you were saying?
No, I want to say that the very just like you, I was like speechless. Like, did they really just do that? Did they really just make a joke where it's heavily implied that Puss got milk per se?
Yeah, did a early 2000s reference.
Nice.
They weren't afraid of the innuendos in this time, so.
Definitely.
DreamWorks, the masters of innuendos, more or
Yeah.
less.
Math?
Please cue Naked Gun, the writer's barely disguised fetish image here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
It's definitely a boob man here.
Absolutely perfect.
Exactly.
Yep. But what happens now is that we then cut to Artifice sitting with Toby as he says that, oh, he pulled me to the ground, and because I have a healthy fear of death, I let him, in a pretty good joke.
Yeah.
Yep. Puss basically attempts to teach the dragon how to drink milk, but it is completely uninterested in it. Puss tries to pull up Toby's head, only to have it collapse on him, and he realizes that it's going to be harder than he thought. And we then cut to a sudden musical number as we see a montage of Puss trying to help the dragon, and the other townsfolk helping along with it too. And it's a couple of things that's interesting about this. Number one, the song, to me at least, I don't know if you guys got this, to me it sounded like it was spoofing Toy Story in a way. It was spoofing like Randy Newman's style of singing and also the lyrics in that.
You got a friend in me.
It kind of was like a spoof of that. And I was like, oh, you clever guys, if it was real.
Yeah, I'll bet it was honestly, with how trigger happy the DreamWorks was with the innuendos, it definitely fits here.
Oh, 100%. And another thing is that they have some really, really funny bits in it, like the part where Puss and Dulcinea arrive, only to find Señora Zapata cuddling with Toby. And like I said, they have a lot of really cute little character moments like that. Like one of the Puss tries to basically give the dragon some milk, but it refuses. Another orphan gives it like pickles, and it eagerly eats them. And that, pretty cute like little moments of that. And the montage ends with Toby actually managing to take flight as the town watch on happily and cheer. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Speaking of pickles, like Peppermint Larry's looking at this and it's just like, hey, God, they created a monster.
Nice. But yep, it does happen because basically the montage, Puss and the town folks all cheer as they manage to heal Dragon Toby, only for the dragon basically to leap around in excitement and fly around before suddenly setting literally everything on fire. And I love just the way it's done. You think, oh, it's such a heartwarming moment. Then he literally just starts breathing fire on everything.
Well, that didn't last long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Señora Zapata is, of course, really angry at him again as Toby lights a tree on fire. Puss basically tries to get Toby to calm down as Dulcinea approaches him, trying to get him to bring the dragon back. There's a pretty funny moment where Puss says, it'll break my I mean, it'll break the orphans' hearts. And Dulcinea says, it was the orphans' idea.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course,
Yeah.
yep, the orphans all complain about Dragon Toby basically being a nuisance. With two of the moments that are probably the funnier ones is, Pig Toby basically saying, I think he's trying to eat me, and then you see Dragon Toby staring at him and narrowing his eyes. And then Cheeval, the little goblin, basically says, he took my green and scaly bit. Now I have nothing.
I mean, that's fair. Like, if you're not the green and scaly one, then the dragon certainly is going to give you competition.
That's for sure. But Puss says that Dragon Toby needs obedience training and tries to get him to sit, but Toby just merely smacks him with his tail before he runs off. Toby takes basically Señora Zapata in his mouth and flies off, with Puss hanging on to his feet.
Oh,
The pair.
interesting part
Yep,
about
go ahead.
this moment, it's where how Toby grabs Miss Zapata.
Señora Zapata.
Yeah, he legit grabs her by the back of her dress. He literally grabs her by her butt. Like, good
Yep.
lordy.
I was about to mention that.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't know how I almost forgot about that, but yep, they did that. More fuel the fire that the animators knew what they were doing. Let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Classic. So, what happens next, basically, is that Puss hangs on to Toby's feet, but the pair are thrown off as Toby sets a beam on fire and it lands on them, as Puss's portrait of Felina burns slightly. And yep, truly a tragic waste. What a shame.
Yeah.
But
And
what
nothing
happens
of
is,
value was lost.
yep, that's for sure. But Puss basically realized that Dragon Toby cannot stay in San Lorenzo, as he and the other townsfolk try dragging him off on a rope. All of a sudden, we get to hear a loud roar fill the air as we get to see the Mother Dragoness, which is the reason we are discussing this episode.
Yep.
Now, first off, of course, is her design, which she basically resembles a larger version of Dragon Toby, but with kind of a duller color scheme. She's a bit more grayscale compared to the more greenish color I think that Dragon Toby has. And she has longer horns as well as a spine-covered back, but like the face and the eyes are pretty much almost identical.
Yeah. Also, she looked a little bit like Salazzle, somewhat.
Actually,
Yep.
you know what? I can see that.
Yes.
I see. Yep, some resemblance.
Definitely with the mouth.
Also,
I'm sorry.
Something I thought in this scene, it was a bit of, oh, we are doing this from the first Puss and Boots movie, huh? Because it has like the baby goose, and then the mother goose shows up, and it's like, to be fair, when I saw this, I was like, wait, are they just repeating the climax from the movie?
But then,
Huh.
then you remember the movie came out technically after this,
I see what
chronologically.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but yeah, I definitely could see that being an inspiration for the basically for this episode, like calling back to the original movie, which definitely be an interesting thing if they took it that way,
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. But what happens is Puss basically tells the others to take Dragon Toby to safety as he tackles the Dragoness, basically riding it as it soars to the city and basically destroys things. The Dragoness seemingly almost eats Puss. Insert barely disguised fetish here, haha. But
But
he forces
then-
her.
Horny.
Yep. But he forces her mouth open and is flung towards the ground. But Toby basically saves him and growls at the larger Dragoness. The Dragoness then growls towards Toby before licking him as basically he coos in excitement. And then we get to the one moment that actually completely redeemed this Dragoness to me, because right now you're thinking, oh, generic dragon, not too much. He's probably going to get like maybe a 5, maybe 6 out of 10 if we're lucky. Here's where the real twist comes in. She turns towards the crowd and she begins to talk.
Yes.
And this moment, when I first saw this episode, completely took me by surprise. I mean, I did not expect this to happen at all. And the fact that it did, it actually had my jaw on the floor for a second. I had to pause the episode just to make sure that it was actually was happening.
Well then.
Yep. Let's see, Math, what do you have to say?
Didn't we review this episode of Crypto the Super Dog already?
It is kind of like that.
Nice.
Also, something that helps is that her first line isn't some typical monster of thing. It's like a Hey, can anyone explain me what's going on here?
Yeah,
Also,
he's-
yeah,
good.
it's immediately followed by "You took my kid."
yeah, exactly. It's like
Justifiably angry, but like it comes after the fact she's like, "Oh, excuse me, I need to say something."
yeah, exactly. And I just love how it's like, hi, can I talk to you for a second? Who stole my baby? And her accent too. She has kind of like I guess almost like a Brooklyn accent kind of thing going on, and it actually is really, really funny. She's voiced by Lorraine Newman, who, believe it or not, also voices Pajuna, and who, interestingly enough, got her start as an original cast member of Saturday Night Live, like the original Saturday Night Live, with like Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and Chevy Chase and all of them.
Yeah, okay, good lordy. She's already voicing two characters who definitely do a lot for people. Like, I think we've broken the scale here.
Yep. And apparently, after Saturday Night Live, she became a voice actress. So glad to see her with this. But what happens is basically Puss is stunned by this, basically trying to tell her that the dragon is basically a very ancient dragon. And he's named Toby. The dragoness is beyond pissed off at this, saying that his real name is Ephraim and he's only 1 year old.
Yeah,
Puss asks,
Efron.
yep, way to go, Puss. You really screwed up this time. He asks why Ephraim did not tell him. Sorry, go ahead.
He really screwed the pooch on this one.
Just by being
Nice.
a cat.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Great one. But what happens is we get another really good line where Puss says, "Why didn't he try telling me?" And the mother dragoness replies, "Because he's a baby, you moron." Just the way she delivers that.
Think, Puss, think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Dulcinea thankfully actually diffused the situation by saying that they were only trying to help him, and now Dragon Toby is somewhat healthier. Basically, the dragoness that looks down at him for a minute, and her response here got another really good laugh out of me because it's something along the lines of, because you helped him out and he does seem to like you, I guess I won't incinerate all of you and everything you know. And then she turns to him and she screams out, "You're welcome!"
You're welcome.
What can she say except you're welcome?
We're not burning down your whole town.
Perfect. Great. But yeah. So basically, again, what happens is she then angrily tells Puss not to stick his nose in other people's business, then prepares to leave. Toby, aka Ephraim, nudges Puss as his mother. I do like this one because it's a subtle moment, and I'm glad they put this in, that basically Ephraim's mother, she basically roars in annoyance for a minute, but she doesn't kind of like an, all right, I'll let you do it. But it's not done by speaking, it's done by like dragon roars and that, which is, again, a really nice way how they do like communication between them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. But she allows him to say goodbye. Puss hugs Ephraim's snout and he starts crying, basically, and he says that it's probably from somebody cutting onions, which one of two things I can mention here. Either, number one, Squidward left out the bowl of onions again.
Hey, who left this bowl of onions here?
And number two, thank goodness Puss did not know Shrek yet, because if Shrek had heard about this slander of onions in his presence, things would not end well.
Yeah. Yeah. Lordy. Also, shark.
We get a whole conversation about layers.
Yep. Layers to a people, layers to onions, layers to ogres.
Exactly. But basically, Ephraim and his mother fly off to their cabin with Ephraim's mother carrying him in a really sweet touch here. And I do like one thing about this is how Puss does not learn a lesson at all. Because basically the whole lesson of it was, don't try to, do things that when you're no longer needed in that. But Puss immediately just starts trying to slay mosquitoes as basically the entire town walks away like, this guy, am I right?
Yeah. And nothing of value was lost.
Yep.
That's what Puss is thinking right now.
Exactly. But yeah, there's also basically what happens, of course, is Ephraim basically flies back to her and his mother fly back to their cave, and there's a nice little animation touch here as her scales are shinier and greener in her cavern than they were in San Lorenzo in a pretty nice moment, you know.
Yep.
Definitely going to help out with the design score of her. And Ephraim's mother basically says that she'll never leave her son alone like that again. And the episode actually ends in a way that got a really good laugh out of me because it's one of those things you forget about, and then when you see it, it's like, oh yeah, that did happen. Because the episode ends with El Moco still locked in the treasure chest, basically screaming and raging about how he will have revenge from everybody before Ephraim's mother opens it and breathes smoke in his face, causing him to slam the lid shut.
I can wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And unfortunately, she did not make another appearance on the show. Neither did Dragon Toby. And basically, the Adventures of Puss. Yep. Unfortunately, it would be great to talk more about her, but alas. Basically, the Adventures of Puss in Boots show itself lasted for about 6 seasons. Each season basically got progressively darker than the last, and
Oh,
the
damn,
finale.
really?
Yeah, the finale is apparently kind of a tearjerker in a way because I looked it up just out of curiosity, and I don't want to spoil it because, well, if it's not on Netflix, I guess, I don't know, should I spoil it or not?
Give a very brief synopsis, but don't reveal too much.
I'll give a very brief synopsis. Basically, Puss has to leave San Lorenzo because he turns out to be the reason for why it is being attacked, and that's right, Dulcinea and the Goblin turn out to not be what they seem, but yeah, Dulcinea does not leave Puss. Let's do it that way.
Dang.
But yeah,
Cool.
go ahead, Chuck.
Cue a certain sinister whistle.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
But yep, this is set before the events of Shrek 2. And like I said, apparently the finale is supposed to tie directly into Shrek 2 in a way, which definitely seems like it would be interesting how it goes kind of full circle like that. And about this show in general, I like how it ties into both the Shrek franchise and the Puss in Boots franchise. It feels connected, but it also feels like its own thing, you know?
In a sense, yeah.
You could see this and the events of like Shrek happening concurrently with each other, and it doesn't really feel too out of place in some things. Maybe some of the designs are a little bit off compared to like the humans in Shrek, for instance. Like for example, Señora Zapata looks more like probably an Illumination character than she does a DreamWorks one, at least like DreamWorks Shrek. But for the most part, I'd say this show actually is pretty good, and I definitely wouldn't mind watching more of it. Now, there are some issues. Again, we talked about Puss's voice actor, of course, but also some of the textures feel a little bit unrendered at the time.
Yeah, it almost looked like a game that was rendered in Unreal Engine sometimes.
Or like something made by Outright Games.
Outright Games, I know that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like I mentioned it, especially the 4 textures on the Anthro characters. There's just something that feels off about that. That's like the biggest thing I noticed.
Yeah.
Yep, I definitely can see that. And again, that's just one thing that's a shame. I mean, it's not as bad as the Monsters vs. Aliens show because that show looked really not good at some points. But yeah, for the most part, I definitely do have to say I recommend this show because it is a lot of fun in its own way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It honestly sounds like the one of Netflix of DreamWorks Netflix shows. Like it's has great storytelling, but the visuals leave something to be desired.
Unfortunately, they do. But that's going to lead us to the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite DreamWorks spinoff and why? I'll go first, and mine is probably going to be simple answer because it probably was the first one I saw, which is the Penguins of Madagascar TV show, which really is a funny and well-made show. They got King Julian back, and the guy who impersonates him does a really good job as Julian, and of course Mort is there, and just again the voice cast of the Penguins in the show. You got Jeff Bennett as Kowalski, who is absolutely hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, like he rightly steals the show, and it's to the point when they made the Penguins of Madagascar 2015 movie. I was disappointed that they did not get the TV show cast back for it because they actually had better chemistry than the movie cast.
Dang.
Actually,
And
yeah,
like I
they
say-
did.
Yeah, and I feel again the reason I think the Penguins of Madagascar show worked because they outright said this is an alternate universe. Don't think too hard about it. They get that out of the way right away. They basically say that this is a universe where the penguins did not escape, the zoo. They stayed in Central Park Zoo. Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman are not there for reasons I never explained, and the lemurs basically are sent to New York Zoo. But aside from that, they went crazy with it. And of course, you had Dr. Blowhole, voiced by Neil Patrick Harris, and anytime he showed up was always a good episode. And the show as a whole, it really just feels. It actually feels at times almost better than the movies because it has its own style and it just does it so well,
I'll bet, yeah.
Now, a lot of
You know-
fun. Sorry.
There's also All Hail King Julian, but until we tackle that one on the podcast a little later, I will reserve all judgment until I watch the episode.
I actually have not seen that show, but apparently that show is actually a prequel to Madagascar, kind of like how this is a prequel to Shrek 2. And again, it's kind of
that.
Yep. It actually is, I believe, a prequel to Madagascar, the show, in a way. And like I said, it definitely would be interesting to see how it turns out. And yeah, like I say, it's funny when you think about how some of their other franchises did not get spin-offs. Like Shrek itself, okay, got like the Puss in Boots movies, which technically count for this, and of course this. But Shrek itself did not get a TV show or anything like that. And considering how absolutely massive Shrek was from like 2001 to like 2007, I am actually shocked they didn't even attempt one.
Kind of like how Mickey Mouse never got a cartoon of its own, like in the Disney Afternoon, even after Donald and Goofy got their own. But Mickey, it will take a while for him to get something for TV.
Exactly. Yeah, it is very strange that way.
Yeah.
Like he's basically the de facto mascot of the thing, and he did not get one of his own. But yeah, like I say, that's definitely going to be my choice of the Penguins of Madagascar TV show because that show definitely holds up, and it actually to this day, even the animation line I think really looks good for the most part. There's a couple of wonky effects in that, and some of the backgrounds look a little bit like unfinished renders or like 3D Maya stuff. But for the most part, it looks really really good. And it's a well-made show, funny show, great voice cast, and I highly recommend it. So, Angron, what is your pick going to be for your favorite DreamWorks spinoff?
That one's a tough one because on the one hand, you got stuff like the Dragon series, you got, again, I guess Penguins of Madagascar, you got the Kung Fu Panda series, which I haven't seen, you got Adventures of Puss in Boots, which definitely has my interest, though not by much. And by technicality, you also have the Troll Hunters, which is technically, by a very loose line by Gobber, a spin-off of How to Train Your Dragon. It's a little bizarre, but for this one, I am absolutely going to go with Dragon's Rescue Riders because alone, you have the concept of two kids protecting and watching over dragons, even because they themselves were raised by dragons, learning to speak their language and all that. It tickled my fancy. It's one of those preschool kids shows that it's not on like in depth like Bluey, but it's definitely on the level of something like Rescue Bots Academy and Dragon Tales for the most part. And I definitely recommend it. The cast especially is amazing. The designs are great. They're unique. They're sleeker than what we got in the other Dragon shows, especially the movies for the most part. And honestly, it's actually pretty light. It's actually pretty lighter looking compared to the others, which I absolutely give it credit for doing that as well. Also, unique characters that aren't the Burke crew, so that's also great. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that.
Yep. And let's not forget, it also takes place in like a major time skip.
Oh, it
Yeah.
did?
Isn't it set in like a modern day, or am I thinking of another
It's
one?
Hidden World. I think that's
That's 9 Realms.
Nine
my
Realms.
apologies. I got them mixed up, but
Nine Realms is not great.
okay.
I haven't heard good things about it, but I'm sure it won't be too bad.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that one too. But no, that's a great choice right there. And again, Dragons was definitely its second most popular franchise, and it too got a lot of love. And I'm glad that it did, especially again, Riders of Burke is a pretty fun show too, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely.
I've heard. I've never seen it, unfortunately.
I just remember bits and pieces of it, so I can't really say its overall quality, but definitely a good one right there. Good choice. Let's see, Math. What would your favorite DreamWorks spinoff be?
Well,
Indeed.
obviously it's going to be Megamind Rules because there's no way that could be bad, right? I'm not crying, you're crying.
Fuck that shit.
Insert Shafe Willis rant about the dehydration gun here.
Oh,
Oh
that's pain.
boy.
So my actual choice is the DreamWorks Dragons series, the first one.
Oh, that's nice.
Uh,
Riders of Burke. Neat.
Riders of Burke, Defenders of Burke, Race to the Edge, whichever version you want to say the title for.
All of
That
them.
whole series in general was
The original
really,
sort
really
of
well done.
trilogy for the show, right?
Yeah. There's also Race to the Edge, but a lot of people don't really talk about it somewhat.
Yeah, because it was
What I
a
really
Netflix
liked about-
exclusive,
Yeah, it's still good though. It's worth a watch too.
as I've heard.
What I really liked about all of those series is that they actually did feel like continuations of the movies or in between points of the movies. The characters felt like they actually belonged in those movies and weren't just retoolings for these series. And they actually did do storylines and events to tie into things from the movies themselves.
That's nice. That's good to know.
That's
Yeah.
very good, actually.
It's always good when that happens because it shows like a level of care for it that you wouldn't see in, like, for example, other spin-offs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it was amazingly well written too. Some people's favorite How to Train Your Dragon characters actually come from these series.
As I've
Oh.
heard.
Wow, I was
Yeah.
not expecting that.
And also new dragon species that add to the freaking lore of the series. And also,
Yep.
speaking of, there is a dragon that is mentioned in the freaking dragon manual that makes a reference in Rescue Riders. So even more proof that they somewhat knew what they were doing with the series.
Oh wow! But like I said, it's really neat when that happens. When basically a spin-off like that becomes so beloved just as much as the original. Yeah, like I said, so
Absolutely.
yep, always good to see that. So let's see, Stryker. What would your favorite basically DreamWorks spin-off be?
I'm torn between two, actually.
Oh,
Penguins of
ahead.
Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness.
Ooh, I've heard some good things about Legends of Awesomeness. I want to check it out because on top of basically being a spin-off of Kung Fu Panda that takes place between 1 and 2, it also goes from China to other places like South America. Or maybe I'm thinking of a sequel series. I don't know.
Either
So are you-
way, I felt that it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I do remember seeing a bit of that show. It was fun. It was fun. Also, a little fun fact: the voice actor of Poe in that show is the same voice actor of the talking flower in Mario Wonder.
Oh,
Oh,
dear
okay.
God.
He
Oh
also
wow!
he also did Poe in Death Battle, so props to that
Oh.
as well.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Well then.
Wow. But oh god, now I'm thinking of Talking Flower as a kung fu master. Yeah.
I mean,
On my
him and
first
Poe
list,
like to eat whatever they can eat. So
Yeah.
when
Him
you
versus
focus on Kung Fu, you stink.
yeah. Oh god, I'm actually now him versus Tai Lung, onwards and upwards, and he does the finger thing. As in with his pedal.
Yeah.
That'd be classic. Wow.
That is freaking amazing. Absolutely Kung Fu Panda then.
I barely remember anything of the show, but I know it was fun while I watched it.
Oh, okay.
It definitely is. I think it's one of those shows that, again, it's a spin-off that feels more coherent than not, basically.
However, I will say I do have a lot of memories of Penguins of Madagascar.
Yeah, so probably that
No,
one then. If you remember
that's
it
a good
more,
one.
then absolutely that one.
Hell yeah.
Anything of like moments of it or
I don't really remember. I do remember there was an episode where Paul was helping his dad at the noodle shop.
Oh.
Can I see?
But I don't remember much, to be honest with it.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good choice right there. Let's see. Shark, what would your pick be?
I do remember watching a lot of Penguins of Madagascar, and it was probably the one I watched the most for a while. But eventually, there was this show about a movie of Dreamworks, obviously, that I really, really love, and that will be the Epic Tales of Captain Underpants.
Nice.
Oh hell yeah!
That's a good choice right there.
Yeah, it's a great show because, well, first it's based on the book, so it's gonna be funny. It's a very funny show, and unlike many other DreamWorks shows, this one is actually 2D animated, not 3D. So it's a different type of visual of the usual DreamWorks spin-off, and yeah, I really like it because the stories are really similar to the books. If you enjoy the books and the movie, you're definitely going to enjoy this show. And something really great is it's very experimental with the art style because just like the books, they have the fliporama segments in every episode. But the funny thing about it is that it's different in every episode. In one episode, it's like the flip book. In another episode, it's claymation. In another episode, it's with balloons, with puppets, with sock puppets. So
Oh god, that sounds
yeah,
amazing.
it's a really funny
I want to
segment.
check this out now.
The what?
Same.
I want to check this out now.
Yeah,
Same.
if you like the books and the movie, you're gonna like this show. And it's like maybe a little formula because it kind of follows the same steps in every episode. Like, oh, the new teacher, and they have the comic book segment like they did in the books. Then they have they become the monster of the week, and then they summon Captain Underpants, and they fight with the fliporama stuff, which is different. Like, there's this episode where I think they go like to Ancient Greece and they present the pharaoh with like in a museum, like, oh, in this section we can see Captain Underpants fighting the Minotaur, and it's very funny. And yeah, it's the fliporama. Definitely, if not, try to find the fliporama segment because it's a different art style in every episode. So that's funny. And fun fact, there's an episode with a female dinosaur, so we can actually cover it.
Ooh, that.
Okay then. Send it
Yeah,
That's
over.
gonna be a lot of
I think
fun.
I'm hooked.
Oh,
Yeah.
I definitely want to check this out too, especially because of the
looking
flip
forward to it.
anime.
It's a really great show. As someone who loved the books, I think they did them
I
justice.
was the same. I was exactly the same way. While the parents at the book fair were complaining about Captain Underpants, my mom bought it for me.
I honestly didn't grow up with Captain Underpants. I read like one book, to be honest. I was more interested in stuff like Ricky Ricotta and his Mighty Robot. But
I never got any of the other ones. I only had 2 of them.
yeah, I had most of the set. I didn't get to I technically didn't get to Uranus, Pluto, or the other ones. But I will say this, I really enjoyed the movie, and honestly, this is honestly making me want to check out the show now. But on that merit alone.
I was actually more talking about I only had 2 books of Captain Underpants actually.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah,
let's see how
interesting.
DreamWorks does with the Dogman movie because it's from the same author as the.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to
That looks like a lot of fun. And
I want to check it out
Yep.
too, but I don't know if it's going to be for me. I didn't grow up with Dogman either. I didn't grow up with Captain Underpants, but I definitely didn't grow up with Dogman either, which is going to be interesting.
I think it's funny that my comic book store actually has that in the manga section.
wow,
It's
it's awesome.
considered a manga. Oh my god!
It's not, but it's like since they put in
Amazing.
graphic novels.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
It is.
It really, really is.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Great choice there. Jordan, what would your pick be?
Jordan, you
Jordan.
there?
Jordan?
I
Jordan, you
hope
there?
she's not asleep or busy with family.
I'm not asleep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
good.
not, you silly.
It's okay. It's okay.
What was the question?
What is your favorite DreamWorks spinoff?
Oh, I grew up a lot watching it, but the biggest one was probably How to Train Your Dragon.
Nice.
Funny, since that's the only one I didn't watch growing up.
You need to watch it, good
Same.
sir. You need to watch it.
I've heard so
Wow.
much about it. I'm like, fuck it, I might as well.
Also, Rescue
Might as
Riders.
well.
Check that out as well. It's very great.
I
Like,
agree. The Dragon
literally-
Rider series is cute. I mean, I watched the
Yes.
entire series, and it's cute for little kids, and it does connect a little bit to the old classic version. A bit.
Also, it has a bunch of very interesting characters. Also, dragons speak in this.
Yep.
Ugh.
And we're going to be
Kinda,
talking
for those
about
who
one
can
of them
listen.
soon. Oops, sorry.
Oh, I was agreeing that only 2 people can understand the entire dragon race. Only 2.
Two, but they are absolutely based for it.
Pretty much.
Definitely sounds like an interesting choice right there. Like I said, it's definitely one of those that definitely is one that, again, as we mentioned before, is really well remembered.
I
Yeah.
mean, yes. And for the fact that How to Train Your Dragons is getting a live action trailer and it's already been official.
Yeah,
Eh,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's
not
not made
looking
by
forward
Disney,
to
so
that.
I'm not
Same.
going to be too harsh on it, but it's a live action remake, so who knows where it'll go from here.
Yeah. Hope for the best. Expect the least
worst.
best. Let's put it that way.
Expect the worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Hope for the
Or
best.
the better.
That too.
Sure, actually.
But I digress.
Yep. So anyway, it is now time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we rank the Dragoness. And today we're going to be talking about. She doesn't have an official name. The closest thing she has to a name is called Ephraim's mother, so that's what we'll call her. Now, for her score, originally when I first saw this, I was like, maybe she'll get like a 6 out of 10 if she's lucky. But because of the voice, because of the shock of her having a voice, and basically her characterization, the fact that they make her like infuriated, but it's easy to see why, because basically to her, these randos basically just came up and stole her baby from her.
Yep.
You know, again, I like that. I like that they actually gave her some more maternal stuff at the end too. I'm gonna give her an 8 out of 10.
Very
Yeah,
much a coincidence. I am going to give her an 8 out of 10 as well, but
Ooh, nice. Any particular reason as to why for you? Because for me,
mean-
I think. For me, I think again, it's the design. It's definitely the speaking. That is what pushed her over the edge for me. You know.
yeah. Yeah, the voice definitely works too, especially with what you said about her voice actress, which props to her for doing this. But also because her design, on top of looking like Salazzle, would look too out of place in something like How to Train Your Dragon and also Shrek for the most part. Like, it's not like it's absolutely something that speaks DreamWorks on many avenues, and I for one definitely am for that kind of thing. Which, yeah, I mean, a little more character would have helped her a bit, but for what she does, I'm 100% for it. So 8 out of 10, hands down.
Oh, easily. That I definitely can see why. So let's
Yeah,
see.
Kind of reminds me more of a brutish, if not down to earth, Zubeia, if you can believe it. Except no lightning powers and just basic bitch dragon.
I
Yeah.
do see some resemblance with the horns now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Huh. That is a very good point there. So, let's see who's next. Math, what would you rank her?
I'm basically going to be repeating what I said in the Crypto the Superdog episode for this character. I was expecting to just give her a 5. I really like the design. The one thing that just was bothering me the whole episode in a good way. It was like, I recognized that snout and mouth design and couldn't place it. And then a few hours later, I did realize that it was the Salazzle style from Pokemon. And that was, I've always liked,
yes.
I've always liked cool designs like that, where it's not just a normal elongated snout, where you actually do something with it, where you add details, where you make it uneven or jagged and interesting like that. Those are neat. So I was ready to give her a 5 and be like, okay, woo, giant monster, whatever. And then the talking happened.
Yeah.
I don't think it was quite as funny as in the crypto episode, but it is very, very close.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm giving her an 8, like I did for Mama Rex
Toot
in the
toot,
crypto
baby.
episode.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, let's keep that train rolling. Who's next?
Yep. So let's see. Stryker, what would you give her?
Oh yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same with you guys.
Nice.
I was about ready to give her like a 5 because like easily unimpressive, but like it's another mother dragon, so I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and give her a 5. No, the talking happened, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she's getting a better score.
Yes.
I actually might give her a 9 to be honest, because like
Wow.
I might because like I don't know, the design worked for me and the personality.
I might also give her a 9 out of 10 as well. Now that you mention it.
Okay, sounds good. So change yours to go to 9 out of 10 and gone too. That's a good one. Let's see. Shark, what would you give her?
I will give her an 8 out of 10 because just like everybody has said, I was ready to, okay, Mother Dragon, I'm seeing this story, he wants her baby, but the talking happens and it gives her a lot of character, like, and especially
Yes.
because what she says first is basically can I have a moment, please, basically. So it's like, oh, okay, that's way
Yes.
different than I was expecting from your typical, oh, they took my baby dragon.
I think this is what you would call either lawful neutral or neutral, like true neutral.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The
I
fact
will
that like
also say, adding another character to my needs more screen time characters.
And more fan art.
Yep.
Oh dear God, yes.
definitely.
And the design is, yeah, for what it was, for the kind of show this is, I guess they did the most they could with their budget, but there was just one thing that bothered me about her, and it will be, stop looking at me with the big old eyes.
Yeah. Stop looking at me with
Perfect.
them big old eyes. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's good.
Yeah, the
Perfect.
dragons here have really big eyes. So other than that, I like the designs.
Yeah, I don't think the eyes are bad. I can understand why you think they're a little weird, but it's fine.
Are you keeping it high with an 8?
Yeah, that's definitely going right there. Let's see. Who's next? Jordan, what would you give her?
I haven't seen this episode, but I had to look up pictures. I want to stick to the 9, 10.
Oh,
Nice.
wow. Second week in a row with the Dragoness, or rather, basically a character on the scale who got a relatively really high score. Wow.
And I would agree, yeah. They with Dreamworks, like the sides, like mini sequels like this, they make the animals' eyes like too big. Like, okay, they don't need to be that big. Tone it down a bit. So I agree for that false little divine. Like, okay, can we just like make them small? Not that small.
Yeah, not like how the SpongeBob looked after the Flying Dutchman told him, but I can see what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like I said, a really interesting score this week in that. So that's gonna be it for this week. Basically, if you have any questions, or if you want to tell us what happened if Dragoness Shrek showed up in this episode, yep, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Visit us on Blue Sky at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Ludmillanon YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Hit the bell icon, like the video, and any and all comments are appreciated. Also, one of our co-hosts, Lucky Evie, is looking to move to the United Kingdom to go to a group home. We're going to have a GoFundMe in the description. Any and all help is appreciated.
Yeah,
Next
absolutely.
week, we're going to be going a little bit more back in time because we're going to be talking about the 1994 Sonic the Hedgehog episode, Dulcie. Yep, it's that time, folks. We got to do a tie-in to Sonic 3, and this is the best thing we could do.
Yep, time for Sonic Sat AM, baby.
Yep, definitely going to be an interesting one, too. Also, the first time, I believe, Cree Summer appears on the podcast. I'm actually shocked it took her that long.
Wow.
Hey,
Seeing how prolific of a voice actor she's been.
All right.
that'll
Yep.
certainly be interesting.
Definitely will. Yep. And that'll be next week. Be a lot of fun to talk about that. But for this week, thank you all so much for watching, and take care.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Adios!
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.
Adios, and see you all next week.